Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Reddit Asks Us podcast. Before we head into the podcast, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts, make sure to leave us a rating and also leave us a review. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Reddit Asks Us podcast, where we post new clips of the show every week. Sorry, I've been stumbling through that one a little bit. I do a podcast. I might have talked about it on this podcast previously, but I do a podcast with my friends about basketball, and it's called the Rap Chat podcast. And like Rap Chat, Reddit Ask Us, and it just kind of gets mixed up in my head. So I've been stumbling through that, and we do that one twice a week too. So I'm just like more used to saying that one than I am used to saying this one. But welcome back, everybody. I'm excited to be back. I am looking forward to this episode. I had a little bit of a rough week last week, but I'm feeling better, and I'm energized to get some content out to you guys. And I always have fun doing this, so it's more about having a good time and having fun rather than having to put it off, or this doesn't provide any sort of joy, because it absolutely does. It's just having a rough week last week, and everything's all right. So. Okay, guys, let's get into it. Episode 70. We are deep in it. We are deep. So, this week's Would You Rather is, would you rather always feel uncomfortably hungry or uncomfortably full? So, the first response comes from BMoney860. I'm always hungry, so it would be nice to have a change of pace to be full. Now, the next reply comes from Unpossible Literature. It would be nice to stop eating for some years and then lose weight. I'd still eat a little bit every 2 hours, so it would be solved. But if I were to be always hungry, I'd be whiny and eventually cry and be more self-conscious about my physical and mental appearance. You're self-conscious about your mental appearance. I don't know what that means. Some of these comments were a little strange. There were only like 9 comments on this page. But or on this one, I just kind of like the would you rather. Some of the comments I didn't really care for, but so in response to B Money, it'd be nice to be hungry. Sorry, I'm always hungry, so it'd be nice to be change the pace to be full. I don't know. I'm in the middle. I feel like I'm always kind of hungry too, but then I don't really like the feeling of being super full. I kind of just like the feeling of being like satiated, because being full to me makes me kind of feel gross. But I feel like you shouldn't choose the uncomfortably hungry if you're looking to like lose weight, because I feel like that shouldn't really like be a factor in this, because I feel like that's gonna just. If that's going to be one of the factors in your one of your deciding factors and decisions, it's always going to be relate back to some sort of body image thing. And I don't know how I really feel about that. But this person comments, yeah, I'd eat a little bit every 2 hours so it'd be solved. Like, no, that's not the point of I feel like that's not the point of the would you rather. I feel like the point of the would you rather is like, no matter how much you eat, you're always going to kind of feel full. Otherwise, like, you can't cheat it like that. That's just cheating. But I'd also, but the one thing that he did bring up, or that this person did bring up, that I agree with, is that I would hate to be constantly complaining, either whether I was like always full or always hungry, and if that's just like something that you are definitely going to complain about. I feel like it's better maybe to complain that you're hungry rather than you're full, maybe, because if you're full, people will just be like, screw it, you know what I mean? At least you have food in your stomach. There are lots of people who like can't eat, but at the end of the day, also complaining that you're always hungry would just be like, people would be constantly, you'd be complaining either way, so you'd be kind of screwed. You'd be kind of screwed either way. Excuse me. So next user says, I'm Sodally Tober, says, I'm always hungry anyways. Being full is the worst feeling to me. Even regular full is terrible for me. Screw uncomfortably full. I can relate on the fact that, yeah, I don't really like the feeling of being super full. It makes me, like, at least for me personally, it makes me feel like it's like harder to move and I don't really feel as active or as energized. I feel slow. I feel sluggish. I feel and that it's like that tightness in your stomach, that like pushing tightness, and it makes me, it just doesn't make me feel like I can do a whole lot of things. It makes me feel like I kind of have to stay in one place or be somewhat stationary, because like you can't, and you don't want to you don't want to like puke or anything like that. So being uncomfortably full is not like that. I just don't want to, because it makes me feel like I'm gonna like puke or something. I would, to be honest, for me personally, I would probably choose hungry, just because I know that, like, this is just some personal me thing. I'd probably choose hungry just because I know that before I exercise, I can't eat anything. Like, at least 2 hours before I exercise. Because if I eat anything before I exercise, like go play basketball or go lift weights or something, I feel that, that I'm going to throw up, or that I can't run as fast. Like, I feel that my physical abilities are hindered by the fact that I might eat. So I'd probably want to avoid that. I perform much better on physical tasks when I'm either hungry. Like, I can go to the gym hungry. Like, I will sometimes go to the gym and I'm legitimately hungry, but sometimes working out helps me to forget about the fact that I'm hungry. But it's those times where, I want to go to the gym, but I also have to eat, but I'm like, I only have so much time to go to the gym, and if I eat now, then I have to wait another 2 hours before they go to the gym. So even if I'm hungry, I might as well just go to the gym right now and then eat when I get back. So that's probably the way that I would go. Okay, so moving now into the main segment of the show. Episode 70. What myth is deep-rooted in our society, everybody? What myth is deep-rooted in our society? So the first one comes from Ivor the Invisible. Body hair grows thicker after it's been shaved. So I feel like this is a very common thing people say. I probably heard this some like thousands of times, not legitimately, like probably tens of times, if not, maybe 100 times. Like, just things you hear growing up over the years. That just, you hear these from uncles, you hear it from maybe sometimes your parents or friends. You always hear that. So this is a reply from user the Macallan Code. The Mythbusters had a special on this. Shout out to the Mythbusters. Mythbusters had a special on this, actually. The hair is technically thicker, but it's almost like an illusion. Fully grown hair is thinner and slimmer at the ends, but when you shave it, you end up with a stump that is thicker, but becomes thin again as it grows. Think of a tree, the trunk of a tree. It's thicker at the base than at the very top. If you cut that tree at the base, then the stump is technically thicker than the tip was when it was fully grown. So no, your hair won't grow thicker after being shaved, but it will feel thicker after it's being freshly shaved, which to me personally makes a lot of sense. The whole tree analogy kind of makes it a little bit more clear for me. That makes sense, because I always feel that even noticing personally, when every time I shave, my hair does feel a little bit more coarse, a little bit more thick after I shave. And then after I leave it for a while, it kind of goes back to how it was before. But that actually makes a lot of sense. Shout out to the Mythbusters. And I always hear people saying this, like, all the time. Throughout high school. High school is probably the place where I maybe heard it the most. I have like a couple friends who like would say this sort of stuff all the time, like, oh, just your hair will grow back thicker or something like that, or shave and your hair will grow back thicker, or they're reluctant to shave because they don't want their hair to grow back thicker. And in reality, it is a myth. So where does this myth come from? You know what I mean? I have no idea where a myth like this even is generated. Like, what purpose does that serve? Like, how does it even come about? I have no idea. So moving on, user Blackjack 2015-2020 says, The fact that in the US, an employer can have a policy that says that you can't discuss your wages with coworkers. It is illegal for them to have, and it's illegal for them to have a written or oral policy stating that you can't discuss your wages with others. I felt like I always heard this too. I feel that when I was a kid growing up, I always heard that, there are some places that was like kind of one of the reasons why it was tied into why it's taboo to like talk about how much money that you make. I feel like it's also sort of a respect thing. Like you don't want to impose your wealth onto other people and make people feel like they have less money because you make more than them. I feel like that was kind of a respect thing. But I thought that one of the things that reinforced it was the fact that some workplaces did have this like rule where you can't discuss wages with your fellow coworkers. But I guess that that's illegal, actually. In some businesses, it's illegal to discuss wages. And it makes sense. Why not? I actually saw, I'm a really big fan of, and I've been thinking about maybe doing like a bonus episodes or something like that. I'm a big fan of the anti-work subreddit, and this is like one of the largest growing subreddits. And I'm a huge fan of what kind of goes on in that subreddit. There's a lot of woke discussions going on, but, I did see somebody make a post about, you should be sharing how much you make with each other so that you can talk to your superiors about how much money that you make. And if you feel like you should be making more money, you should talk to your superiors and say, hey, this guy in this department is making way more money. And we do the same job, or I do more. And you can feel like you can discuss those things openly with your employer rather than everyone's kind of shielded from each other and you don't really know how much each other makes. You kind of just have like a guess of how much somebody makes, when in reality somebody could be getting paid to do a very menial task and you feel that you're getting cheated out of the money that you feel that you deserve. So the next post we have is from Caston, user Caston. The widespread belief that people are sabotaging Halloween candy with needles and razors, despite there being IIRC only one documented in the U.S. ever. Also, that people are lacing the kids' candy with drugs. Drugs are expensive. Nobody's going to waste their stash on random kids. I always heard this as a kid too. Where the hell did this razor blade thing come from? Why are people acting like absolute menaces that you're going to throw a razor blade or a knife or a needle or something in someone's trick or treat? How would you even get it in there? I don't even understand how that makes sense. Like the packages are like pre-sealed. You know what I mean? Like you can't just like how, like for example, how are you going to fit a razor into a Kit Kat bar? Like the bars are sealed, man. Like if you open it, it's gonna be clearly shown that you opened it. I don't know how that people think that you're gonna like fit a razor blade, and no one just like bites into their candy without taking the wrapper off. You know what I mean? Like how would you possibly hide? I don't know. Maybe like they bake them in or something. I don't even know what that is. But I guess it's like one case happens somewhere. And it starts this sort of giant, widespread urban legend that everyone's got razor blades and needles in their candy, which is like, what a horrible thing to impose on children. Like, oh, guys, make sure there's no razor blades or needles in your candy this year. Like, okay, jeez, you're scaring the crap out of these kids. Although, I feel like the one thing I do have to say though about this is that the whole drugs thing, because it is a popular thing among certain groups of people to lace people's drinks or lace people's drugs for fun, with messed up things. And the thing about, like, for example, in Canada, this is a thing in Canada, and it's more of a warning. I don't really know if this has ever happened, but I could potentially see it happening. Like if you're one of these people who thinks it's funny to do stuff like that, in Canada, marijuana is legal and edibles are legal, and they're like chocolate, right? So imagine if somebody took like a chocolate or something and put and wrap that up, or did something with it, one of these edible chocolates, and got some kid messed up off of it. To be honest, I could totally see that happening. And the fact that it's legal here, I mean, it's so easily accessible. There's a huge sort of thing in Canada, and one of the reasons why edibles were legalized way later than strictly the flower was because there was a lot of issues regulating how we wanted to sell edibles, because edibles propose a little bit of a different sort of risk, right? It's not, very often that a kid, would see like a rolled up joint and being like, oh, I should, use this. That's, it's much more likely for a kid to be like, oh, there's a chocolate, I'm going to eat this, right? Like if you imagine like a 3-year-old or 4-year-old or a 5-year-old go messing around in the house, oh, free chocolate, eat that, or gummy bears or something. And then, or rather than if you see like a rolled up actual like joint or something like that, a kid's probably look at that and be like, what the hell is that? You know what I mean? They would probably think much more of the chocolate as something to consume rather than an actual flower or something like that. But it poses lots of risks everywhere, because the thing is that, yeah, you can like make your own edibles and stuff. So it's a complicated sort of thing. There are lots of issues around certain things that could possibly happen with marijuana rather than alcohol, because alcohol is a little bit different, right? Like you don't necessarily bake alcohol into like a cake or something and get drunk off of that. Like that's not something that a lot of people really do. So moving on, user Sansaman says, this is in India. If you pass out / faint, you're supposed to rub the person's feet until they wake up. TV serials taught the population this trick. Now people do this for all passing out, including drownings, heart attacks, and other serious ailments. I feel like I've heard this one. And this isn't even like, I feel like this isn't even strictly India. I feel like I've heard this one before too. That if you pass out or faint or something like that, you're supposed to rub the person's feet. I don't know what the science is behind that, or where that myth originates, but yeah, it's a little bit strange. The next one comes from user Props to Me. Oh yeah, that you can burn body fat locally by training a specific muscle. For instance, doing crunches to burn stomach fat. I know a lot of people throughout the years who have thought this way, that, oh, if you want to get rid of stomach fat or something like that, that you have to do lots of crunches or do lots of running or something. But my mom is a trained dietitian. That's what she did in school, and she always told us growing up that you can never target fat. Fat is something you can't target. Fat just grows where it wants. Fat just accumulates where it goes. It just goes where it goes, and you can never target fat. So the best way if you want to get rid of any fat anywhere on your body, if you want to get rid of that, the best way to do that is have really great cardiovascular health, and to eat well. That's pretty much the kind of the two things. The whole idea that you can run lots and burn off a certain amount of fat on your stomach or something like that. Yeah, you can't target fat. So that's like I do know that one, but it is a very popular myth that if you do like crunches or something, you can get rid of your stomach fat, which is a myth. So user always my fault says, this one too, I have no idea what is up with this one or how this one has come about. And I've heard this and I've been like, there's no way that's true. There's no way. And for the longest time, I feel like I didn't even know if it was true or not. I just was like, damn. The average person swallows 7 spiders a year in their sleep. Yeah, like I'm sure everybody who's listening to this has heard this before. I don't know where the hell that this came from, but I guess I don't even know. I seriously don't even know. I feel like it's got to originate in some place like Australia. There's like so many spiders there. Maybe it's true for Australians or something. Maybe it's true for some people around the world because they might have more spiders there. I could see that definitely being true in a place like Australia. Sorry to my Australian fans, but there's a lot of freaking spiders there, man. There's no like spiders like that here in Canada or even in the United States. But Always My Fault says, where the hell did that even come from? I don't know about you guys, but I've had a grand total of 0 spiders climb on me while I've been awake this year. I can't imagine there's any chance that I had 7 crawl on me while I'm sleeping, let alone crawl on me and make their way directly into my mouth. Very true. How often do you really see a spider around your house anyways? I feel like I maybe in the okay. So what am I doing? In the 4 months that I've been living in my apartment, I can tell you that I have seen 2 spiders in this house. And I know exactly how they got in. And that is the extent to the spiders that I've seen. So I feel like if you have 7 crawling in your mouth, you must see a decent amount of spiders. Why do they crawl in your mouth? I don't even know. Why do spiders trying to crawl in your mouth anyways? Like, I don't even understand where this, I have no idea where this comes from. I feel like to a spider, that's probably a very dangerous place to go. So, user literally a jackal says, this is another super common one that I'm pretty sure everybody knows at this point is a myth, but it has perpetuated itself, and I definitely feel there are some people who still believe this. Excuse me. Gum stays in your stomach for 7 years. The reply from Guillermo2 says, I have an anecdote for this one. I once went to a school where chewing gum was forbidden. The rules stated that everyone who gets caught with gum has to pay a €2 fine. I don't even think that's legal, but whatever. I was watching a sport event from the stands, chewing gum, and got caught by an old teacher who was hated by everyone. She pointed at me and made me come down the stands. The conversation went like this. You know you're not allowed to chew gum. Spit it out immediately. I already swallowed it. Are you crazy? That's going to stay in your stomach for 7 years. No, it's not. Uh-huh. Is your mom a doctor or something? Yes, she is. And I wasn't even lying. My mom is indeed a doctor. The teacher was fuming and told me to go to the principal's office to pay the fine. I told her I would, but of course I didn't. I don't even know where the whole gum thing came from. I feel like it's because gum is a manufactured substance. We make gum. Right? It's not like you don't really, like, there's no gum tree, you know what I mean? Or maybe there is, I don't know. I feel like gum is completely like produced. I'm pretty sure that gum is artificially made. It doesn't just grow naturally. So I feel like when we think about something that's so heavily produced, we tend to think that, like plastic, for example, like you shouldn't be eating plastic. You shouldn't be putting plastic in your body. And odds are, if there is plastic in your body, it's probably going to stick around because you can't, I don't really think you can digest plastic. Or money, right? Like if you swallow metal, you can't digest that. And you have to go and get that removed from yourself. So with the gum thing, I feel like since it's so heavily produced, and people might think it's like not natural to have in your body, you're just kind of supposed to chew it and spit it out. So yeah, I don't even know where the whole gum thing came from. That's very interesting. I might actually see. I should have done some origin story searching for some of these myths. That would have been better. But I've had a little bit of a hectic couple weeks here, everybody. I'm trying to figure some things out. I'm going to try to experiment maybe a little bit with some content ideas, so bear with me over the next little bit. Things are going to be maybe a little bit different. I like to do the solo ones. These solo ones are fun, and it's cool to get more of the user base involved. It's cool to get everybody else kind of involved, and thank you for everybody who's been listening so far. I guess I should probably say that is the end of the podcast for today. Thank you guys for listening, and thank you guys for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever else you get your podcasts, make sure to leave us a rating and also leave us a review. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at Reddit Asks Us Podcast, where we post new clips of the show every week. I have kind of been lacking on that Instagram. I've got another project kind of on the go with the whole Raptors thing and just kind of figuring things out. I had a little bit of a rough week last week, so I've been slacking with the content, and I'm producing this one the day of, so it is Tuesday today, so and you guys will get this later today, and so yeah, it's just been a little bit of a hectic little time here, and I've got some school stuff going on that I have to finish, but I'm thinking over the Christmas break, I'm thinking that's kind of where I want to start trying some new things. These solo ones are a little bit easier for me to record, so it doesn't, there's a little, I can play around with it a little bit more and kind of see how it works, but keep your eyes on the lookout, everybody, for maybe some a new type of content or new style of content. Also maybe toying with the idea of doing 2 episodes a week, just because these solo ones are actually easier to do. So, and I can, pump them out quicker, and there's always new questions every week on Reddit that are pretty good. Sometimes you see the same questions popping up all the time, but if you give it a week, most of the time you actually get some decent questions and topics you haven't covered before. So keep your eyes out on the lookout for some new content, and maybe you might see something prop up. So again, thanks everybody for tuning into the podcast. I really appreciate you guys. The numbers are going up every week. It's ridiculous, you guys. It's crazy. It's weird because I'm kind of focused on the other podcast that I've been doing, and I don't check the analytics as much on this podcast, but I would just go back and recently check the analytics, and it just climbing all the time. I think my audience size just grew by 5 in like a week, which is crazy. Holy crap. I'm really glad you guys are enjoying the show. If you guys want to email in, please email in. I know I don't really like, I feel like the podcast platforms would be really nice for them to add in a feature where you can comment, because I'd like to engage more with you guys, and I know that engagement isn't like super high on the podcast platform, simply because there's like no way to really engage otherwise in ratings and reviews, which you can only really give on Apple Podcasts. And I guess most of my listeners, you guys are listening on Pandora, which is not even available in Canada. So I'm really shocked and surprised, and it's really cool to see that the audience size is growing all the time. So you guys are listening, you guys are enjoying, and I'm glad to hear that. So anyone who's listening, I really appreciate it, and hope you guys get your weekly dose of Reddit podcast content. Thank you guys for tuning into the podcast, and I will see you guys next week. Peace out.